Hello from West Coast University's Occupational Therapy program, and welcome to this brief video training. Thank you for agreeing to be a community site mentor for our OTD program. In order to better prepare you for this role, we've created this short video with helpful information and insight. By the end of this training, you should be familiar with the purpose and expectations of the Doctorate Capstone Project and Doctoral Experiential Internship, or DEI, be able to articulate the role of the community site mentor and how it differentiates from the role of the faculty mentor and capstone coordinator. In addition, you should understand the timeline for student capstone-related activities and your involvement in these activities, as well as be able to describe the evaluation process. Ultimately, we want you to feel prepared to serve as a community site mentor to ensure an OTD student's successful completion of their capstone project and DEI. I'll start by sharing about the mission for West Coast University's OTD program, which is based on the belief that all humans are occupational beings in nature and in the healing power of occupation, whereby humans can influence their own health status. Occupational engagement and thus occupation-based interventions are therefore the central theme of our curriculum. Our mission is to provide doctoral level education to develop caring and competent occupational therapy practitioners through the integration of theory, research, and practice. These scholars of practice will be lifelong learners and can develop into advocates and leaders for the occupational therapy profession in diverse local and global communities. Next, I'll review our OTD program learning outcomes. Upon completion of the program, our doctorate students will be able to develop and implement client-centered care that is inclusive of cultural beliefs, values, and needs, demonstrate effective communication skills and function effectively as a member of an interprofessional healthcare team, apply critical analysis of evidence during the occupational therapy process, and participate to increase the body of knowledge of the profession through the preparation and dissemination of scholarship, design and implement interventions with a central focus on occupation as the means and end of the therapeutic process in line with our profession's philosophy, integrate health promotion and wellness interventions with individuals, communities, and populations, and lastly, model leadership and advocacy for occupational therapy in the full range of service areas. A major component of the occupational therapy doctorate program is the completion of a capstone project and doctoral experiential internship, or DEI. The capstone is the culminating project for the student to synthesize advanced OT knowledge, enact reflective practice skills, demonstrate scholarship, and grow professionally in a focused area of interest. The project will focus doctoral student skills on seeing a large project through the phases of initial research and development, planning, implementation, and evaluation. The DEI is completed at your site and serves as the context for students' completion of their capstone project. Our accrediting body, the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy Education, or ACOTE, has stated that doctorate students can complete their capstone project in one or more of the following areas: clinical practice skills, program and policy development, research, leadership, advocacy, administration, education, and theory development. While we ask our students to choose a primary focus area appropriate for their project, it is likely that the project will include components from several of these focus areas. At the completion of the capstone project and DEI, the student is expected to produce several deliverables, including a scholarly manuscript, a professional poster presentation, and any site-specific deliverables that are relevant to your organization. For example, your OTD student may be focusing their capstone project on the development of a fine motor program for your pediatric clinic. The site-specific deliverables could include the curriculum for the program, a volunteer training manual, and family educational materials. ACOTE has stated that the DEI must be a minimum of 16 weeks full-time, which equates to 640 hours. Of these 640 hours, ACOT has stated that 80% must be spent directly on site completing learning activities. This is 512 hours, which averages to 32 hours per week across the 16 weeks. As the community site mentor, you will set the student's schedule. Every 2 weeks, the student must complete an hours in supervision log, which has to be signed by you and submitted to their faculty mentor. The remaining hours can be spent off-site working on activities such as ongoing literature review, project preparation, and manuscript writing. Next, I'd like to outline the stages students progress through for their capstone. Beginning in their third trimester, students take a course called Introduction to Doctoral Studies, in which they begin exploring the various capstone focus areas and brainstorming a project idea that they're passionate about. During their fourth trimester, students continue to meet with the capstone coordinator to further conceptualize their project idea, explore sites for their internship, and secure a placement at a site. In trimesters 5 and 6, students complete their Level 2 fieldwork rotations, and upon successful completion of these rotations, students are considered to have entry-level competence in OT practice. During trimesters 6 and 7, students take 2 preparation for capstone courses in which they conduct a needs assessment with your site, complete a literature review, and complete an oral defense of their project. It is also during these courses that the student will collaborate with you to draft their learning objectives and learning activities, which will serve as a guide to structure their time during their DEI. The 16-week DEI is completed across trimesters 7 and 8, and students finish their time in our OTD program by taking one last course in which they complete a final oral defense of their project, submit their final manuscript, and present a professional poster. Each student will be mentored by a Capstone Project Advisory Committee, or CPAC. This committee consists of the capstone coordinator, a faculty mentor from West Coast University with expertise related to the student's project, and of course you, the community site mentor. As a community site mentor, you will use your expertise to assist the student in completing a needs assessment at your site prior to the initiation of the DEI in order to help the student plan the specific details of their capstone project. You'll also provide feedback on and assess student progress towards their established learning objectives, as well as guide students in the development, implementation, and evaluation of their capstone project. You will meet regularly with the student during the DEI to ensure the project stays on track, as well as provide access to the site and any necessary supervision or training. You'll need to maintain the documentation system for student hours to ensure that their learning activities are being completed and hours are being met, and evaluate the student at midterm and final. Lastly, you'll participate in the student's project proposal oral defense as well as the final oral defense. In addition, I have a couple of extra strategies to provide some guidance to you. First, be helpful. We're so appreciative that you've committed to supporting one of our doctorate students in the completion of their capstone project in DEI. While the student obviously knows a little bit about your site at this point, they will need your help to become better acquainted with the organization, including conducting their needs assessment, completing any orientation requirements, becoming familiar with the facility and any policies or procedures, and of course, meeting staff and clients. In addition, the student will need your expertise and help to transform their project from a more broad initial idea to a more focused and feasible project. Second, be proactive. Students are most likely to be successful if their community site mentor is providing consistent mentorship. While we expect doctoral level students to be largely self-directed and to certainly be proactive on their end, please be aware that scheduling regular check-in meetings with your student will also enhance their learning experience and ensure that the learning objectives are being met and the project is staying on track. Third, be demanding. While mentors should be reasonable, they also should be demanding and insist that students produce high-quality deliverables that meet the academic rigor expected of a doctorate student, as well as meet the needs of your site. Hopefully all the expectations will be clear to everyone based on the Memorandum of Understanding that will include the student's learning objectives and learning activities. Fourth, be collaborative. Work closely with your student at every phase of their project and model what it looks like to be truly collaborative. Developing the learning objectives will be your first opportunity to collaborate with your student and to ensure that the student's learning brings value to your site. Lastly, be supportive. The capstone project and DEI is a long process. The student will likely need your encouragement as well as positive and constructive feedback to help them grow and be successful. Next is the capstone coordinator responsibilities. It is the responsibility of the capstone coordinator to guide students to explore potential areas of interest for their capstone project and DEI, as well as to secure their placement at a DEI site, provide guidance in critical and reflective thinking as well as problem solving, ensure that all documentation is complete and deadlines are being met, and advise on writing a scholarly manuscript and creating a professional presentation. Lastly, the West Coast University faculty mentor will collaborate with the capstone coordinator and you on the student's learning objectives, as well as regularly meet with their OTD student to provide advisement related to content areas, scholarly manuscript preparation, and professional presentation creation. When necessary and as appropriate, the faculty mentor may visit their student at your site, and they will evaluate the student's final manuscript and professional poster presentation. With all this said, we want to reassure you that you are not solely responsible for the success of the student's capstone project, but rather that you are part of an advisory team that is offering ongoing support to the student. Next, I'll discuss in further detail the manner in which you will evaluate the student during their DEI, which will include completion of the midterm and final evaluation forms. Students will be evaluated according to the West Coast University Capstone DEI learning objectives, as well as the student-developed learning objectives. The DEI learning objectives closely reflect our program learning outcomes. Prior to the initiation of the DEI, the student will select three of the following 6 West Coast learning objectives that are relevant to their project. The student will be evaluated according to their selected 3 objectives. First is develop and implement client-centered care that is inclusive of cultural values, beliefs, and needs. Second, demonstrate effective communication skills and function effectively as a member of the DEI site interprofessional team. Third, apply critical analysis of evidence during the DEI to make informed decisions and participate in increasing the body of knowledge of the profession through the preparation and dissemination of scholarship. Fourth, integrate health promotion and wellness and interventions with individuals, communities, and/or populations. And fifth, model leadership and advocacy for occupational therapy at the DEI site. In addition to choosing 3 of the West Coast University DEI learning objectives to be evaluated on, students will collaborate with you and their faculty mentor to develop their own specific learning objectives and corresponding learning activities. Here I provided an example for a student that is completing their DEI in a school setting. In the first column, you can see that the student's learning objective is to demonstrate advanced knowledge of the development, remediation, and compensation of handwriting and typing skills. In the second column, you'll see a variety of learning activities that help the student work towards meeting their objective. In the third column, the student has identified what the evidence of achievement will be for each of the learning activities. So to summarize, the student will select 3 West Coast University DEI learning objectives, as well as identify student-specific learning objectives, upon which you will evaluate them at midterm and final. In wrapping up, I'll review what you should be expecting next from your student. The student will periodically reach out to you via email or phone to build their mentoring relationship. The student will need to schedule a time to conduct their needs assessment at your site around the beginning of August. The student will be seeking feedback and collaboration on their learning objectives and learning activities in September. The student will schedule a time with their CPAC to complete their oral defense in October. And the student will arrive at your site to begin their DEI the first week of November. Thank you again for being willing to support our doctorate student in the completion of their capstone project and doctoral experiential internship. We hope that you found this training video helpful. If you have any additional questions or concerns at any time, please contact Capstone Coordinator Danielle Freeberg at the email address or phone number provided. Thank you.